Peace be upon you, guys, with you, Farouk, and you are welcome in a new video from a series of videos of analysis of software mobile operations, which we started with each other in how many videos we talked about very important basics, concepts and terms. We also took practical examples to analyze some of the software operations. I know that this video was late, but I was the minutes, and if you love to enter the world of programming tools software, I advise you to see the rest of this series videos because it will help you very much, and in this video we will talk about a very important topic. It is an analysis of the software operations for Android devices that have Qualcomm processors on the software, such as format operations and sense of FRP protection and the rest. And you understand all that we will explain, so you must go before it and see the videos in which we talked about the EMC library, its importance, function, and how to use it. Because this video will be based on the basics that we explained in the parts of eMMC, so it is better that you stop this video. You go to see this first videos, and you will return again, because I do not come back. I explain the basics. At the end of this video, you will have open source chips for some tools Qualcomm, so that you can see the codes, orders, and the way to carry out operations on them. And if you love the field of software for the mobile and want to learn it from scratch and without any prior experience you can subscribe to us in the online courses for the professional software of the mobile, which we hold you from zero. And without you have any prior experience on the field, so that we can reach a very advanced stage in the field, and I will give you the video to describe the links of the courses, the curriculum details and the study plan. Okay, let us start our explanation. Perhaps we walk with someone, so let us explain in the form of a practical example, so that you understand the explanation is good, and we initially occupy the DN Spy tool, which we always use in our explanations. And we go and import source tool from the tools on it, which supports some Android Qualcomm operations, which is the enroll or enroll tool. The tool was programmed and developed in Sharp and inside. Because it supports operations and processors other than Qualcomm processors, but we will focus on Qualcomm operations specifically. Okay, this is well that the tool that we take is the example, but before we complete, I want to tell you in the stages and the logical sequence of any process that you will do. For any Android device that has a Qualcomm processor or any other processor on the software of software, and because of the stages this is important, I will explain it to you with the use of what I can appreciate so that you can understand it well, because you will need it a lot after that. The first stage is the stage of preparation, delivery and preparation for the implementation of the process in this stage, in which the number of operations you will do varies. But in basic operations that you must do in the preparation stage, the first, the most important of which is the process of delivery between the mobile and the computer in the tool. The tool is initially necessary to get to know the device connected to the cable in the processor mode, which of course appears to us inside the device manager, because without the operation, we will not start originally in carrying out the basic process, which we want to do for the mobile. Whether we remain, we will enhance, we will, or we will delete the protection of the FRP, the question remains. How do you connect the connection process on tools software? Look, teacher, let us return to the tool again and go to the good or the function responsible for the delivery, which is the function that is before us, and we start separating one by one so that you can understand it well. Because this stage is essential on all tools Qualcomm, and here I have a public function without any pamphlet and violin. This means that it will not return any value, and of course the programmer used Treo in this because it is the best way to control errors, exceptions, their longing, and deal with them. Especially you are dealing with any hardware in general, so that it does not appear to check any error or exception at the time of working tool, and this error can cause the program to be collapsed with your work and its work suddenly stopped. And get out of it, and therefore if a mistake appears, you can control it and show a message to the user without affecting the work of the program, stopping it, or getting out of it. Of course, I need a good need, and it is desirable that you use it in your programs and inside Aqua's tray, starting the programmer using ready-made classes in Sharp and new object work from class management object search share. And as the management objects are essential to deal with the Windows system and can use them a lot in inquiries. Inside the schedules and rules of Windows data, especially in inquiries about hardware devices and compound ports connected to the USB ports on the computer, this is important for tool software. And the new objet took a value or a query order, which is before us, and of course the young people who studied pre-databases. Whether it remains Oracle or SQL, I would have a background for the intelligence and orders, and here we say to him a spirit for namespace or for this path, and then we start the total of the query. It is a select from an async, choose from all columns, tables, rows, and all that you will meet, and from the when it's new, from within a table or class when it's new, PNP entry. And who will be inside the windows? Okay, we will choose what is left. Oh Pasha here, we will find the programmer. This is because most of the definitions of Qualcomm devices are inside the processor mode that will have this number and appear in the name inside the device manager, but we can do this. We do this query in a second way. Notice in this Dala here, we will find almost the same sentence as the query that we have seen from a little, but what differed here is that the programmer was shown more than the name of the device or the definition that I want to hold. Here, there is Qualcomm HS USB Q loader. It is in EDL mode. You can work in any way in them and try it yourself, and Microsoft provides the WMI tool for all its users. This is a free tool, and you provide you with most of the codes or orders that you will need. And you are dealing with the various Windows libraries and libraries. And use it in your tool in the query operations within the libraries and tables of Windows, and you can also choose the code in Sharp or Visual Basic language so that the tool will show you the code according to the language you are working with. Okay, let us go back to the function that we were in, so we can complete an explanation. It is a summary of the query, so I make a repetition episode immediately, and this is to search inside the matrix that will return and in which the data we need. And the youth who studied the LU and the rings of repetition, I am sure to understand the for each function, and here is the condition. The object will search the outcomes of the inquiry that we have done in advance, and the result that will return to you will turn it into a string or text. And you will store it for us in a string variable, and then it will be amended by the result, and the name that will be due to the text or string is also turned on the name. This is essential and reserved functions within the Sharp language to deal with the texts. The same variable was considered string text, but in the variable text, it is a little chapter in the details of the name, amendment to it, and your proceeds after he received the result of the query and also modified the information that will come back. Farah, we store the variable that has the name inside the combo box on the tool, which is its name comport to, and also stored all the information inside the test variable in a new text variable, which is string. This is specifically, we will know his job as well as a little in front of what we communicate in our explanation, and of course all this will happen inside the ACLWAS, the episode of repetition. In every result, it will be answered, so the amendment is done. This is how the person responsible for delivery and inquiry, and therefore I separated it a lot and explained it in detail, because you must understand it. Because you will see it in all the Talysis software that you will meet, and you will see them with all the other proddering and treatments in general, because the classes, beings, and rings of repetition and other elements that we have seen in the Dala, so you will find it with a view that is almost on the rest of the tools with some simple differences, and you will be in writing the code or calling some other classes in most of the differences that you will see. You will be in the total of the query because it is determined according to the type of processor and its definition that you want to search for within the libraries and tables. Try your eyes to return to the shape before us, because you will see it a lot after that. Okay, so that we are our first and most important explanation, which is the stage of preparation and delivery, and we go to the second stage that we need in our explanation today. It is the stage of establishing Bruce or a machine like what is in its name, because we will need it after that in dealing with some libraries and applications, and you will be separated by a little because you must understand it. And let us return to the code and see. Here the programmer created a string type and takes a parameter or a value, and it is with a new string variable. He created a new process object in class as essential, and you will find it in most programming languages, and its function is clear from its name, process or the process. I mean, it is the machine or machine that we will need in the tool in our tool, and then created an object of class SSSSTRTINFO to show the most of the processes and information about the process. Here we will find some of the characteristics of the new process that we created. The first. It is the photographer of the EMMCDL. Like we will not see a little, and after that, we store all this information inside the buses, and we are busy with it, and the information that will be returned from the process. This is the best in dealing with texts in an environment.net. In the end, this is what will return to us, the variable, result, with all the information in it, and what I told you is considered a saying or machine. But we have not used it until now, or we have worked for it any summons, and this is the form that you will see in some tweets. And you can see this function with other libraries, such as the IDP libraries or the FastPot libraries, and others, which you will meet. You will be summoned in the same way. And I want you to understand the function and the information in it, even if the shape changes. Because you will need it a lot in your work, and we will see how we use Russians or dealing in practical work, too. And the countries of this are the most important two main stages. You will always see them inside the tubers, and therefore you must understand them, as we said. If you would like to program a software tool from your own development, good. We also have a third stage, which is the stage of implementing the basic process, which we want to do for the mobile, because what we said is that the two phases that they missed were only paving stages. Perhaps we explain the stage D case, so let us take an example of a worker on the tool did to the FRP protection for the Xiaomi Qualcomm mobile, and we see the sequence and the stages that the process went through on the tool to the end. Then we go back to explain what happened inside the code and see the functions that were summoned during the implementation of the operation. And at the beginning the user entered the mobile to put EDL or mode the delivery of Qualcomm processors. Since the mobile phone has a Qualcomm processor, so that he can read and get to know him and the device manager in a normal way and then occupy the tool. He went to Qualcomm's value on it, chose brand and the mobile model, which is Xiaomi. Because a sense of protection of FRP begins to breathe on the tool, and then it ends like what you see, and after the end of the operation. It will connect the mobile battery and occupy it again in a normal way, and it is that it will be planned by Google's reserves and a suspension to protect FRP on the tool. Okay, this is the rest of all people and all ordinary users to see him, but we want to see what happened behind the scenes and what happened in the code. So let us return to the second code and go to the function responsible for the process, which we have seen from a little, which is the function that is before us. I mean, when the user chooses the process on the performance and then presses the start button, then they are called the DALA and the implementation of all orders and codes that exist. And let us walk one with the code, and at first, do it for all the blood feet. To show the process of operations on the tool and see in all the tools that we work on, and of course it is better that you are before any operation, so you must delete the process of the operation or the operations before it, and which I made on the tool. Because the practical access is organized, but I have no objection to this way, because if you breathe the cleaning or survey order for the rich text box in the same form that is before us on the tools of the .NET. Whether CSARP or Visual Basic, most of the problems can appear to you when you are working and performing any process on the tool. For example, that the interface of the program stands and disappears from you, what you can move after the end of the process that you are carrying out, and this can happen because in some components and elements inside the tool, you will be on one butter, and this is the one that makes the problem. Consequently, it is better that you use the info inside the code with your affairs, so that you can show this problem while operating the tool or while working on it and wants to read more and see explanations about the less read inside the environment of the netnet. Okay, we will return to the code, and after that, the program appeared a message to the user that the delivery of the mobile for the mobile, and then the programmer used the if a condition or a conditional sentence. This is because it makes sure of the quality and completion of the delivery before the operation is carried out, and the condition is if the computery box is stored in it, how much the mobile is like what we have seen in the delivery of the delivery. If it is not empty or empty, then complete the rest of the code that comes. As for if it is empty or lying, then the user shows a text message that the delivery process fails, and a message will appear to him with the failure of a sense of protection FRP, and keep your condition from this condition because the normal if we say F. It remains immediately that what will be after that and inside the seeds will be kinto true or positive. I mean in the normal case, it will be if the composite box is empty. It is not in any elements, so he implemented this code, and in the case, we will be wrong, because it will not be able to carry out the process without making sure of the delivery. But the matter that is before us is not like that, because here before the condition, we will find a sign that is not equal to if you see it, and therefore the condition here will change. I mean by saying if the box is not empty, because here it means that we say if it is not empty in the sense of if it is already in elements. And in it, the entire port connected and appeared in the compute box. The same as the rest of the codes that come. Okay, now, we will make sure that in the compound port, it is connected, and it is all. Because we call it the evidence or delay, I mean, we can need it in some programs. Because in a process before it, it is not implemented, and it is not over. First, the signifier of the function, machine, or russes that was established in advance is to be summoned to occupy the emcdl library, and we have some operations through it. Here, the programmer used the feature of his friendly counters for textiles to collect or merge all the information that it is in one line, and this is before it is implemented. Refer to videos explaining the emcdl. Okay, what is the thing that will pass through the mobile to delete the protection of FRP? Boss, Pasha, the first thing is that it started with a / with it. I mean, he asks the port of the compiler, and after that, we will find a changing. If we return to the delivery that we explained from a little, we will find the variable, string, you will see here, and if I think at the time, I told you we will need it, because it is stored in it, the compiler information and the mobile delivery port in it. It is inside the processor's position, I mean this variable, this is a smoothness of the delivery port, and then we will find / and then the F. This indicates the loader file or the virus file, and thus the variable after it here is string 18, so it will be at the air of the loader file. I mean, either you receive the file from the user on the tool in a separate text box when the user has the file on the computer and chooses it on the tool, or that you are a dedicated function minutes to deal with Qualcomm processors. And the minutes of a different group of processors numbers are to be supported inside the tool, and if we return the code indicating again, then you will be here after that. This means that I do erase and wipe the region and the bare system that is inside the mobile sectors, and this is because this sector is the one that contains protection information. Especially in Xiaomi mobile phones and some of the second Android brokers, this means the whole thing that will be implemented through the emcdl library, even if you see the video in which we were talking about the library. So you find the same code that we used and stated for the FRP protection and erase mobile work through the EMCDL library. Using the CMD application only and without what we use any specialized tool, and after that programming is sure of the success of the process, and here he says to the program. If the variable is string 42, this is stored in all the operations that missed, which was implemented on the EMCDL library, which of course, the outputs of the process appear on the CMD screen in front of us. We also used to work in the manual way because here in the tool the CMD window is hidden, and this we saw while creating a machine outer or the del. Because there are many details that are not important for the user, but most importantly, we are sure of the success of the process. Therefore, the programmer will say, or if the variable is in which the operation took place, if a sentence was met, then it is completely. And it is really successful through the CMD application, and the time you can stop the progress bar and show the user that the process was successfully completed on the tool. In the end, Dala Masoud will summon 55. Here, inside the Dala, we will find that a message was shown to the user, which is being sent to the re-operation order, and then we will find his condition by saying if Masoud denotes 50-4 value, it is not obligatory or not equal. And if we went to Dala, we will meet her, she is responsible for delivering, as we knew before that, if there is no connected device and it was recognized, then the customer is the word failure of the process. And you call the function, mysol53, good, let us go to the function and know its function, and the like is what you see. Like what we defeated before that, as we saw, but the difference here is that the Russians will implement the matter in it through a library. Flutter.dll is not an EMC. Okay, just like that, we knew that the Dala takes a text or variable of the type of string, and then you implement the process based on the matter or the code that I have emancipated for it at the time of the summons. Okay, let us return to the evidence. We see the matter that I took at the time of the summons, and here we will find the matter consisting of 3 sentences, and the first sentence we will find the word port and in front of 2D in or lash and a symbol equal to. The second sentence, which is the number of the quantity as we saw before that, will be stored in the string strec variable. A third sentence, which is the same thing that will write it to the mobile, which is the matter and which begins with the receipt in the sense of the appointment usually or the usual. In some devices, its function is reset or restarting, and then we will find the word no prompt. Perform the process without asking the user to do a restart or take any action. Follow now, we know that this is all. It is all job. We would have learned about all the stages that a sense of protection has gone through, and what we said is that the process is mostly. It will be one on the rest of the tolls, for example, the FRP process for Qualcomm devices, which will be done with the same sequence that we have seen, which can differ as the sector or the region that erase will work for it. Whether it is as an obedience to configure, as a FRP, or as persistent, because protection information is not always in an obedience or one partition in all devices, bonds, and models. And it is possible that the sector that contains protection information changes, and although you are not involved in the channel and did not do the bell until time, but you are my love. And for this, I will give you the video to describe the film file, this code, which we used in our explanation today, and you will find all the operations supported on the tool, whether for Qualcomm processors or the rest of the other processors and processions. Which is required of you is that you see the amplifier code because your eye gets used to the sequence of orders and see the stages of the implementation of each process on the tool. What are the functions and libraries that are summoned to implement the operation? And I am not, but I will also have some open source tools with this video for dealing with Qualcomm devices. The first is the Qualcomm tool GUI and the tool that is written. through the WADA program, so that the tool will appear to you as you see this. And you can now browse her and see all the operations supported by the tool here. And see the sequence of the code and the scoop on the tool and the way to carry out orders on it, and it is not, but I will also you. This is a free tool that includes a different set of mobile operations, whether operations in the processor mode for Qualcomm devices or some of the second important operations. And who can we implement by mode MTB? And when you carry your tool and disassembled it, it will appear to you in this way, and now you will import the executive tool file on the DNS boy program in a normal way. Then, all the inner classes of the tool appear to you, as you can see, and you can browse the codes and orders that are inside the tool. And you see the sequence of carrying out each of the supported operations, and after that you are trying to make a simple tool from your own development and includes an operation in which you have seen during our explanation. Or what I have seen inside the open tools that I have made for you, and with the passage of time you will provide the number of operations inside the tool with your belongings, and most importantly, you are following them and testing them and trying to always address all the mistakes that bloom in them. To be on the right path to teach the tool's software programming field. Just like that, and I hope that you actually have benefited from this explanation, and of course, if I benefited from the explanation, you will support us, and you will do the bell, so that all the new videos will be delivered to you. And see you on the best of the video that comes, God willing. Peace.